Around the town with Taylor Brown. You're in rugby league heaven. It is episode 7. But I tell you what, mate, it's been a long time between drinks, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It has, Lee. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I've been absolutely flat out with work, with my 9 to 5. I'm currently filming this episode. I'm in Port Pirie, which is in South Australia. So absolutely long way away from rugby league territory. And
you're getting around the town. You're getting around the town.
I am getting around the town. And yourself, Lee, you've, of course, been in England. You went back for the Ashes series, the last Ashes game.
Yeah. And then I got really sick as well. Knocked me off track. Yeah.
You got really sick. I don't think people realise how sick you got. You were pretty crook, big fella.
Yeah. And you can probably just tell I'm still talking a bit like Darren Lockyer or Barry White, whatever you want to say. So I'm getting there though, lad, which is good. I mean, you know, you can feel as sorry as you want for yourself. I mean, I'm feeling sorry for myself today. My Wi-Fi hasn't worked for 2 days. It keeps dropping in and out, so God knows what this sound quality is like. You look like you sat in the toilet or something. But you know, you can feel sorry for yourself, but there's always somebody doing it a lot tougher. And mate, you lost a close mate. I lost an ex-student and player this week in tragic circumstances. I'll let you sort of lead the way with that.
Yeah. We obviously, if everyone knows a little bit about our story, we met at St Gregory's College, and of course, it's a well-known rugby league school. It's also a well-known boarding school. We both had the pleasure of being around a bloke by the name of George Hassett, who was a boarder from Gundagai in New South Wales, there near Tumut sort of area, and unfortunately, he lost his life yesterday from a bad car accident last week. So
he was only 29, weren't he?
Yeah, only 29. He had his Bucks party.
Or 30, yeah.
Bucks party in a couple of weeks for his wedding that was scheduled in November. He's got 2 twin boys, or he's got a pair of twin boys. So yeah, life was looking good for George, but unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And I know you've shared a link, Lee. I've shared a link on my personal page. There is a fundraising effort going on at the moment for his now wife. They got married in the last couple of days, and for his boys. So if anyone does out there have a bit of spare coin to help out a really great cause, I can't think of a better cause or somewhere else you'd want to put your hard earned, because he was a tough lad, Georgie Hassett. You called him the farmer.
I did. You know what my memory was? You know what the first thing that came to my mind? And I guess as a coach, sometimes you get carried away with the moment. You get wrapped up in what's going on and putting your best team out in the field and this, that, and the other. And the farmer, George, was on my bench, and he was my 17th man, quite literally, for the grand final, the grand final in 2010, the first one that broke the duck. And I was that nervous about us winning in the closing stages. I remember Matt Brennan telling me, "You've got this, don't worry, don't worry." And I was still worried, you know, because of the amount of minutes that were left. And I only managed to get George on the field for the last couple of minutes, and he was really upset. And that's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard of his passing. And I do remember going straight up to him and apologising profusely. And I do have a memory of him taking it really well and being fine with me and no problem. But, you know, it just makes you think sometimes about the decisions you make as a coach or in anything, you know, the decisions you make day to day, what impact they can have on them. And I tell you what, if I knew that just over 10, 12 years later, he wasn't going to be with us, I'd have let him play all the game, you know, like it's, you know, it's, so that was my take. What were your what's your first memory? What's the first thing that came back to you, mate?
Well, I guess a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough, I went to James Luff's wedding, which is a mutual mate of ours that was also in that football side. And just by coincidence, I happened to be sitting next to Roy Elliott and George Hassett, which I guess you would know. Those blokes are pretty quiet country blokes, and really,
Roy the Bull Elliott.
So, you know, really quietly spoken, great guys, and just I guess you'd probably think a total mismatch sitting next to me at a wedding.
Yeah. The city boy.
The city boy. But, George and I had a good, couple of hours just sitting next to each other for that wedding, or sitting right, less than a foot apart and just catching up and talking. And Yeah, look, that's immediately what I thought of. And, that was 2019, that wedding. And that's just sort of, around the right time when he had just met his partner and all those sorts of things. And then the boys were to come a couple of years after that. So, that's what I thought of immediately, was just the time I got to spend at that wedding. And I thought just, how lucky it was to catch up with him and spend a few moments. And, old Georgie Hassett. But I was actually laughing today with an ex-student at St. Greg's, and we were talking about George Hassett. And I said, it's funny, he was only as tall as your left leg, George Hassett. He wasn't very tall at all, but he was a menace on the footy field. And he'd cut blokes in half with his defence. He would, yeah. Great defender.
And, he was a good footballer, good little lock, could fill in at hooker. You could put him at second row. He was good. I don't know if he played football after St. Greg's.
No, I don't think he did, but he was a Gundagai Tigers junior.
Okay. We'll talk about the other Tigers in a minute. Gundagai Tigers would probably beat them. We'll go to the other basket case first. And we've got a few topics to get through, Taylor, so we might whiz through some of them. My notes here say Dogs WTF. TPJ. But also the performance at the weekend.
Well, first of all, I want to say this. Pangai Jr. recognised that he has not been playing a good standard of football, and apparently he was given an ultimatum that he had to choose boxing or rugby league, and he chose boxing and said, I'm going to walk out on this contract. Now, it takes a lot of guts, certainly, to do something like that. It takes a lot of chutzpah, as people would say. But I don't see it as, if the Dogs gave him an ultimatum, which I don't believe they would have. There's been plenty of football players that have boxed in the off-season. Paul Gallen's a good example. Junior Paulo's another example. Pangai Jr. done it himself last year. There's been plenty of players that have boxed in the off-season. I don't see it as a roadblock. And we've seen with Gallen and Sonny Bill Williams, you can box well into your post-football career. So I'm not sure I buy the fact that the Bulldogs gave him an ultimatum. I don't buy it.
It's funny you say that. For the brief 15 minutes that the internet was working in this third world country that we're in, Australia, I managed to see a little bit of NRL 360, and Hoops was saying on there that he thinks it's a load of garbage that Tavita Pangai Jr. would walk away from a $750K a year contract. And if he was doing that, why is he getting paid $250K next year on the cap? $250K payoff. So why are they paying him off? So that was brought up. It's only right that I bring up the opposite side of it. Gus said on his podcast today, I've read that that any talk that Tavita was given an ultimatum is balderdash, and any talk that he was forced out is balderdash. All I will say is that I don't think Gus has got a great track record when it comes to telling the truth when it comes to affairs at his club. And I go back to the fact that Barrett was safe, the fact that certain people weren't coming to his club and then they were coming, and this, that and the other. I don't think he's got a great track record. His nose sort of grows when he talks about the Dogs. So that said, I am going to stop short personally of saying that it's balderdash. There can be some great money earned in boxing. He can probably earn $750 in a fight or two, can't he?
Yeah, he absolutely can. You're not wrong. And if he was to go down the boxing path, that's fair enough. I just think he could have done that in conjunction with his football career. Now the statement that came out with the Bulldogs was, what we heard through the media was that Pangai Jr. had said that he didn't believe his football was up to an NRL standard anymore, and he wanted to pursue boxing. Now, Lee, you know very well, he played Origin not so long ago, and yes, it was a shock at the time, but he's certainly a good middle forward and would fit into a lot of NRL teams as a prop, and used correctly. And you know yourself, ebbs and flows in rugby league, they happen. Sometimes you're in form, sometimes you're doing things great, sometimes you have things to work on. If he really thought he had a really bad back half of the season, because remember the headlines leading into that Origin 1 was he saying he was going to show everyone, and Brad Fittler saying how good he is. Yeah, he really believes he's had a really terrible half to the season since that game. I don't like the idea that he's running away from it. I think he's got a contract and he should honour that. And that's just another reason that makes me think this was a forced push. I believe, looking at it, that it was strongly suggested to Tevita Pangai Jr. that he hadn't lived up to his expectations and this and that, and that he hadn't got his money worth. And I think there was another path provided, and he's taken that option.
There's and he might say what he needs to say to make sure he gets his payout.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, you know, a few bad games or a bit of a chunk of the season where you're not playing too well in a team that's going like bustings anyway, is hardly a death knell for anyone's football career.
That's right.
So yeah, I did say I was going to stop short of saying this. I'm going to say I think there's a bit more to it. That's what I'm going to say. Now, the other thing, mate, what about the way they played at the weekend? I was in transit, but I've read things and picked things up. Apparently, they were hideous.
Well, before we move on to that, can I just do a quick little yes or no, or what are the odds? Actually, we'll do what are the odds. What are the odds Tevita Pangai Jr. pops up for another football team in 2024?
Maybe not in 2024, but maybe in 2025.
2025. So you think 2024 he sits out?
Quite possibly, yeah.
I'm going to say Tevita Pangai Jr. ends up at a football club in 2024. Maybe not the start of the season, certainly before June 30. I can almost, I don't know what to say here. Put your.
I'm not going to give you long odds.
I think you're under $4. You're under $3. Pangai Jr. rocks up at another football club in 2024. I think there'll be a shortage of, and it could be someone as good as the Roosters or Melbourne who just goes, we're short on a bit of grunt up in the middle. This is what we're going to offer you. We're going to use you the right way. And I think it'll be a basement deal, but I think you'll find he'll end up somewhere.
Now, the other thing is, what are the odds that he was shunted to create room for Payne Haas, and then Payne Haas the same day announced he was staying at the Broncos?
I guess the Payne
Tino.
I guess the Payne Haas situation's a bit of something you have to think about in itself. I was of the belief that Payne Haas was using delay tactics to stall negotiations until November 1st, when he can officially field offers from rival clubs. Because as we all know, per the rules, he can't talk or negotiate with any club until November 1st of this year.
Mm-hmm.
When it came out a couple of weeks ago that he said, it's more about life after football and it's not about money, I thought to myself, all right, this is now no longer about the NFL or about the rugby union. Are you right? Are you okay?
It just went down the wrong hole. I mean, I am coughing a little bit anyway, but that literally just went down the wrong hole.
Oh, geez.
That was hilarious.
Anyway, look, I thought at the time, this is now no longer about rugby union or about the NFL, because he could always negotiate with them right now, right? It's only the NRL rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
He can negotiate with them at any time. So it's not about those clubs. I thought it was a delay tactic so he could hit the open market and see what his true value is worth. That's what I honestly believe. Reports are now coming out that he's signed for $1.1 million a season at the Broncos, which makes you think that they either upped their money or it is true he was looking for a pathway after football. And if that's the case and the Broncos have resolved it, I take my hat off to both parties. If it's truly about life after football and they fulfilled that need, good on him. Good on him for standing up for what he wants. And yeah, getting his way. I think he's done really well there if that's what's happened and he's truly at the Broncos.
I mean, mate, you may have just taken us all the way from Belmore all the way north to Red Hill, about a 12-hour drive. But I'm going to bring you back all the way down to Belmore and ask you again, what the hell happened on Sunday? How bad were they? The Dogs, that is.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt they were badly. I think certainly Bulldogs fans thought life would be different under Cameron Ciraldo. That's for sure. I don't believe they are. I think they've got a similar symptoms that we're seeing at the West Tigers. I think it's something we'll see at the Dragons next year. I'm happy to be proven wrong about the Dragons, but I believe there's problems at board level for these clubs that will not go away, and their results on the field will not change unless they make changes at the top. And actually, I saw a lot of people online with the announcement of the Tigers today starting to agree with me, saying, when are the board going to be accountable for these decisions? I don't think the Bulldogs were bad on that particular day. I don't think they're up to scratch. And I don't think Cameron Ciraldo or Payne Haas or anyone could have fixed the problem at the Bulldogs. I think it will continue to happen until they fix their board and their management side of things. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by any result that comes out of the Bulldogs.
You did mention the Tigers there, so I'll swiftly move over to there. Mm-hmm. This is the day we're recording today, the day that Tim Sheens has announced, or it's been announced that Tim Sheens will no longer be at the club at the end of the season. Now, a 5-year plan ditched after 10 months?
Yeah. Mate, you have to laugh. I don't know if there's anyone at the club keeping them accountable. I don't know if there's anyone saying, right, this is the conversation you had at this stage last year, whenever they appointed Sheens. This is what you told everyone. This is where it's at. And just lay it out for the board. I think they'd be absolutely disgusted in themselves if they really laid it out. I don't think anyone's holding them accountable to what they're saying or what they're doing. And it's a horror show, isn't it? Like, can you imagine being a Tigers fan in 2023? It is.
Or 2013, it's not like this is a new thing, but they just seem to be going from one disaster to the next to the next. Lee Hadjipentelis has copped a fair bit of criticism, but the chairman, but I actually admire him because I think he's taken the flak for his CEO. Mm. We've not seen nor heard from his CEO, Justin Pascoe, for an awfully long time in the media.
Mm.
And it's always Lee Hadjipentelis fronting the media. And it has been this week again. Now, once again, that's happening for a reason. And what is the CEO employed for? Shouldn't he be the one fronting the cameras? So, I'm stopping short of criticising Lee Hadjipentelis because, he's obviously an intelligent man. Doesn't mean he knows football inside out. I'm not saying he does, but he's obviously a smart man. There's no two ways about that. And he's fronting up all the time. Unfortunately, that club leaks like a sieve and always has done in my time in Australia. And there are so many different factions that fight against each other in there. So we've had the scenario where Benji and Fulton apparently didn't see eye to eye. We had the scenario where Sheens was on the outer, numerous things. What's going to happen to the Sheens? Sorry, the Marshall and Fulton dynamic now? Now that Marshall has got complete control of the football department,
and then potentially throw John Morris in the mix, who's been touted as the assistant coach.
So that puts Dave Ferner in some trouble as assistant coach, I think, from memory. How have they been playing? I've not seen any rugby league for a while. So how have they been playing, the Tigers?
Oh, to be honest, the Tigers aren't a team that I like to watch, or they don't have a good style of football. And I've said this to you for probably 2 to 3 years now. I will sit down and watch the start of any game of football. I love rugby league. I've loved rugby league all my life. If I sit down to watch the Tigers play, which often I'll convince myself to give them a chance, once the silly errors and the penalties and just the garbage play that you see coming out of them, once that starts to happen, I just turn it off. I get disinterested. I would much rather. I do support the Dolphins, but I'd much rather watch a tough, hard-fought game of football than watch any team in particular play. And the same goes for the Dolphins. They haven't had the greatest couple of weeks, but I've always found that the Dolphins have always sort of been close to win the match, or they have flashes of brilliance that you just don't really see out of the Tigers, mate. And and being in all honesty here, which I like to be, how have they played football? I don't know. I can't watch more than 10 minutes to continue.
Fair enough. That says it all, really.
I think it does, yeah.
My recent trip to England, Taylor, I did have plans to pop over to the USA, maybe taking a bit of New York, Las Vegas, But I got Pat and Mick, so I ended up convalescing in the homeland. But
can I ask, Lee, what did you go over to watch again?
I went to watch the fifth test.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah, day 1 and 2 of the fifth test of the Ashes.
The Ashes.
Yeah. And as soon as I landed in England, I started sniffling and coughing and this, that, and the other. But we'd booked tickets. We booked good tickets for the Thursday and tickets for Friday. My dad was coming down south. I didn't want to let anybody down. So I just battled through. And then after that, I was cactus for most of the next couple of weeks. And I also had a funeral to go to as well. Anyway, what I was going to say was I was going to go to the USA on the back of it and tag it on and then come back that way. But I might have another chance to go next year, Taylor. The NRL are taking some games there. My mate Dean wants me to take him.
Well, I thought you were about to say you were sick of not having the Ashes in hand as an Englishman, and I thought that would be fair enough. And
the English always have the Ashes, mate. I actually I went to visit the actual urn. I saw the real urn with my own mince pies. It's an amazing story. I mean, we should maybe take a segue to discuss the story. The England lost a series against Australia for the first time ever in 1884 or something like that. So, of course, it was the end of the world. And there was an obituary written in the newspaper that said the death of English cricket, the Ashes will be burnt and brought back to Australia. And on the next tour, England went over and duly beat the Australians. And the wife of the Australian captain or somebody, a lady associated with it, she burned 2 bales and put them in a little urn, a little terracotta urn. And at a function, she presented them to the English captain and says, "These are the Ashes, you can bring them back now." Sort of meant as a little bit of a
dig at the media.
A bit of a dig at the media, a bit of a play on it, you know. And so those Ashes are actually, they don't belong to England or Australia. They were a gift to the England captain.
Mm.
So he donated them somewhere and they got donated somewhere else. So they actually got donated to Lords. So, and then the term just started getting used that you play for the Ashes. But it's not like there was an Ashes created for the Ashes.
Yeah, right.
It's just literally something that happened. I mean, we do that kind of thing all the time, don't we? In Western society, we might get a joke present and give it to someone, or I know you've been dropping the ball a lot lately, Taylor. So here's some Velcro gloves, and then it's like those Velcro gloves have been played for the next 100 years.
Yeah,
but they're actually a gift given to that captain, Bligh, I think his name was, Ivor Bligh. So, and he donated them to Lords, and that's why they actually stay at Lords.
Yeah, right.
So, and don't get me wrong, the Ashes urn has been to Australia twice on 2 tours, but yeah, that's a nice little segue. Anyway, can I get to my point now?
Yeah,
I can go and take my mate Dean to Las Vegas, mate. What do you make of all this?
Well, first of all, this will be a good segue into probably our last talking point. I don't think taking games to Vegas is going to help the international game of rugby league.
Okay.
I think there could be a few Barack Obamas with all these players in Las Vegas, ripping into the grog, which. If people say, "Oh, they're professionals and blah blah blah," listen. If work gave you a trip to Las Vegas, how do you reckon you'd carry on?
Yeah,
So look, there could be a few, little Matty Shramas that comes about from that, no doubt. But yeah, look, it is what it is with the Vegas trip. I mean, they picked some good sides to go over. The Rabbitohs have a huge following here. They've probably got the most international following out of any football team, I'd like to think. So I think that's a really good idea to have the Rabbitohs as one of the sides. And
there was a picture that went around. I don't know if it was doctored, but it was one of the Capitol rioters with a Bunnies logo on.
Yeah, mate. The Bunnies are just absolutely huge, and we have to be honest and say they're probably the most popular rugby league side around the world.
Possibly,
and a lot of that would be Russell Crowe and a few things like that. But
yeah. Is it going to make a footprint in America?
I don't believe so. Vegas has so many things on at so many points of the year, and it's absolutely massive. The sports scene in Vegas, the fight scene in Vegas, they're just such big events. I don't know if rugby league really is going to make much of a drop in the ocean. Okay. I think you'll get a lot of Aussies going over there to watch the games. It'll increase tourism in Vegas, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's not going to have it all depends how many Americans watch it, doesn't it? Whether they get to see it on television, whether they get access to the game.
What's the broadcast deal? Where's the game going to be played over in the States? What channel? Is it ESPN? Because that is truly the home of sports. In America, if not globally.
Rugby league might make America great again.
Well, I can guarantee Donald is not going to be at the game.
Or as Joe says, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Well, neither of them are going to be there. Joe or Donald, they don't care. But I bet they'd be South supporters if they were there. But
you are listening or watching episode 7 of Rugby League Heaven with Taylor Brown's Around the Town thingy, me Bob. But we are doing it like we're in a third world country on 4G internet using our telephones because so God knows what the sound's like. Hopefully you can hear us. You briefly mentioned their International Rugby League. So if I may, today, again, a Six Nations tournament has been announced, although I don't know how it can be quite a Six Nations tournament because 3 of them are obviously playing each other and the other 3 are playing each other. I don't think they're going to be meeting at the end of it. Australia, New Zealand, Samoa are the 3 teams in one pool, if you like. And Fiji, Papua New Guinea and the Cooks are in another. Tonga aren't involved because they're already going to England. So your thoughts on that as a little tournament, Taylor?
Really, really happy with how that's going to turn out. Really, really happy. I think after the World Cup, the cries for more international rugby league were heard, and this is a step in the right direction. I think the Tongan England tour will be outstanding rugby league. I think that'll be a really good battle between those 2 sides.
Yeah.
And Samoa, New Zealand, and Australia in that little. They're almost like 2 individual tri-nations, aren't they?
Yeah.
That will be a really tight tournament. And, Samoa obviously being in the final of the World Cup, coming up against New Zealand. And Australia have been, we're good and they won the World Cup. They're the reigning champions. You have to give them props. But you have to think about the Australian side will look very different this year than what it did at the start of the year for the World Cup. Very, very different. Oh, sorry.
Go on. Elaborate on that.
Well, players like Angus Crichton won't be involved. Angus Crichton hasn't played much club level footy this year for several reasons. Didn't play Origin, so he's likely not to be involved. I think it'll be a very Queensland-based side, which rightfully so, the way they played Origin. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't recommend it. I wouldn't be surprised if they asked James Tedesco. I don't see why. I don't believe they should. I still think he's the best fullback available. But I would not be surprised if they did. There's a massive calling for it, especially if Reece Walsh takes the Broncos deep into the finals.
If they do wrestle James Tedesco, let's talk about James Tedesco. Well, no, I'll go back to James Tedesco. If they do wrestle James Tedesco, are you saying Reece Walsh is going to be the fullback, in your opinion?
I believe so. I don't think Dylan Edwards offers enough in attack to overthrow Tedesco. Tedesco is a more complete player than Edwards. And I think that Reece Walsh, if he's selected, Reece Walsh will be selected if James Tedesco isn't. I'm confident saying that. I saw a news article the other side today saying Kalen Ponga's in the mix. And I thought, maybe 45th string. I mean, you can't go over the top of Reece Walsh. He can't go over the top.
Don't forget, though, the Knights are coming home with a little bit of a wet sail, aren't they? So,
look, I don't doubt that, but to say that he's better than Tedesco, even with the Knights coming home strong, is a massive stretch. And there's Reece Walsh there, and so look, it'll be very interesting. But if Tedesco gets resold, it'll be Walsh.
Disclaimer: Teddy is our mate. So we're obviously a bit biased when it comes to Teddy, but let's say he doesn't play for Australia this year. It has been in relative terms, a tough season for him. Yeah. Even though the Roosters are putting it together a little bit at the minute again. So they could yet possibly make the finals, I suppose. But I always believed in Teddy's ability. I remember when Turbo was coming on the scene and everyone was saying he's the best fullback in the game. Teddy came back 20 times harder the year after. He obviously had a fantastic World Cup. And he's done well in the Origin arena. Has he got any more in him, Taylor? I mean, he'd be 31 now, is he?
No, he's 30.
30.
What do you mean? Has he got any more in him?
Of course, he's going to continue to play NRL. I mean, to keep lifting for your Origins, your Rep Tours and whatnot. Because, I mean, he's had a very busy off-season. He had the World Cup, and then he came home, he got married, went on honeymoon, has now got his first child or expected his first child. And then to go on another off-season football tour or trip would eat into his next off-season, and it means any niggles wouldn't get serviced in the surgery. What I'm saying is that if he has he got it in him again to go to those great heights in the representative arena?
Well, there's only one person that can answer that question, and it's the man we're talking about.
I wouldn't doubt it from what I've seen. The person I know.
I don't doubt it. Well, you have to remember that how Trbojevic was supposed to take his jersey, Pappenhausen was supposed to take his jersey, Edwards was supposed to take his jersey. Now it's Reece Walsh. Ponga was supposed to take his jersey. He's had no shortage of suitors following up his side for the best part of 5 to 6 years, and he still prevailed and held on.
I'm going to go as far as saying, Taylor, that if he does come back and dominates again, that we need to possibly put him in a similar vein to your Slaters and the like. If he captains New South Wales to another series win, plays. I mean, Origin 3 apparently played really well. I didn't watch it. I went to bed. But if he does come back and do it, then surely he's shut everyone up.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I believe we're going to see it. I really do believe we're going to see it. I think because of the longevity that James has showed over his career, just looking at that, you say, well, he does absolutely everything right. He has to do everything right to stay in the nick that he has and to stay at the top of your game like he has. I believe that he will come really hard, and whether maybe that takes an Australian tour that he needs to take off, I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know, Lee, because I haven't been in those situations.
Is 30 old for a fullback, do you think?
I don't believe so.
Quite a lot of running around in that position, isn't it? It's not like you're playing left centre or right centre.
Yeah, there's a kilometres in the legs, but I still don't believe so. I think he can go at least another 2 to 3 years at the top. 2 to 3 years in football, and certainly very close, if not the best.
Definitely less tackling at fullback, but I suppose if you've been playing for the Roosters or New South Wales this year, that might not be quite the case.
You have Queensland, to have a little dig. I love
it. Queensland Cup. Host Plus Cup, I should say. The Wi-Fi worked again for 10 seconds, so I've managed to get the ladder up. I see that things are still quite tight at the top and in the middle. Do you want to give us a little overview?
Yeah, look, this is actually a very interesting round of rugby league in the Queensland Cup, and it's coming right down to the last week where finals teams will be decided. If you have a look at the draw, which I can see you are looking at the moment.
I'm trying to. It's just this archaic Wi-Fi system here, but I've got the draw yet.
So the Seagulls are actually playing the Falcons, which will determine a spot in that last 8.
Oh, so it's a top 8, yeah?
Yeah, so it is a top 8, which will be, massive. And the Pride are actually playing against the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins are pretty safe where they are. They are safe. They're going to play in the finals. It will have a massive bearing on the Pride, who can still possibly play finals football. So you look, there's a lot of teams sniffing in around 6 to 9 that can play finals football. Someone's got to miss out, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens in those tight games this weekend to see who will miss out.
What round of football is this?
This is round 22.
Okay. Yeah, the internet's crashed out again. Okay, so there are a couple of teams in a little bit of danger as well, aren't they, of dropping out the 8 if those results don't go the way they want them to.
Pride, Seagulls, definitely in danger of dropping out of the 8. You like to think everyone from 6th up is pretty secure at this point, just depending where they finish.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Your tipping, mate, lately has been brilliant. You've got 100% record, not failed once. That's because we've not done them. The last time we did it about 4 weeks ago, you were disgraceful. I literally think you got one right out of 8 or whatever it is. Yeah.
I think you need. I don't need this. I don't need the attitude I'm getting from you right now. I think you need to assess that, and maybe you're still a bit grumpy from jet lag or the sickness.
Yeah, jet lag, sickness, all of the above, mate. Column A, column B.
I'll let you slide this time, Lee, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to put up with it for. I'll say that.
Thank you. Okay, Devils versus PNG.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. This one, I think the Devils will win because they're going to get up for the Jack Ahern final game of Queensland Cup. Jack Ahern, the host.
They can't make the 8, can they? The Devils there in 12.
They can't make the 8, but Jack Ahern's been a loyal servant to that club. I played with Jack actually at the Dolphins before his time at the Devils, and what I can say is Jack is an outstanding bloke, and I think the Devils will rise to that in his retirement game, and they will beat Papua New Guinea.
I can safely say now at this juncture, and be controversial on your podcast, that I questioned in the last season when Rowan Smith left and then 2 coaches came in on an interim basis, got them to the grand final.
Mm.
They didn't win it, did they? Redcliffe won it?
No, they won.
Oh, they won. Okay, so back-to-back grand finals, all right, and wins. And then they got resold for a new coach who didn't have a very good track record. Well, the Devils have gone from premiers to 12th.
Yes.
Is that a job for the boys thing, that?
Look, I think it may be a little bit.
Is it a rebuild? Let's be fair.
Look, I don't necessarily think it's a rebuild. I'm not sure, and I think we'll know next year how they truly sit. But I think they've definitely underperformed in 2023.
Seagulls at home to the Falcons, and the winner will be in the 8. You reckon?
I think the Falcons will win here. The Seagulls had a convincing win last weekend against the Jets.
70 odd something.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I've seen an AFL score with that many digits. It was ridiculous. So I think that was a bit of a cushiony week for the Seagulls, and the way that the Falcons have been playing lately, far longer. Their winger, their fullback turned winger because of the return of Pappenhausen. He's just been on fire. Solo tries he's just outstanding. And
is he still playing for them this week?
Pappenhausen?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yes, I actually would not be surprised if Pappenhausen, if he does sneak into the NRL this year, it'll be via the bench.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cutters 14th at home to the Clydesdales 13th. Have the Clydesdales won some games while I've been away?
Yeah, they have. I'm going to go with the Clydesdales. I think the Clydesdales.
Who did they beat?
They won last week. They beat the Devils.
Wow. So,
yeah, they beat the Devils. Which was really.
So you're going to go for them to beat the Cutters in Mackay?
I am. I'm going to go for them beat the Cutters in Mackay. And I think if you look back, that's not a successful season in terms of premierships, but not too dissimilar from the Dolphins in the NRL.
They've got some results. I think that's a pass mark for me.
Yeah, they have got some results, and good on the Clydesdales. I think they get another win here, and they can't jump the Devils into 12th just on games, but finishing above the Cutters and the Jets is huge.
Anybody watching this on FaceTube will know that we'll be able to see the 2 green squares in my glasses, and yes, the Matildas are playing the Lionesses while I record this podcast.
Have you said that because England are up?
Yes.
1-0? That's why. Otherwise, you would have mentioned it.
Yes. Capra's 6th at home in Rockhampton to the Magpies in 1st.
This will be a very interesting game of football. The Capras went down to the Dolphins last weekend.
Is this the last round before the semis?
Yes, Lee, for the second time. Yes, it is.
Thank you. Jet lag.
Look, this will be a very tight game, and I still think the Magpies will win. I think the Magpies will win and claim the minor premiership.
Blackhawks 11th versus the Bears in 2nd up in Townsville.
I think the Bears will get this one. They're building. I like the Bears for the comp. I really do like the Bears for the
comp. That's the fifth team you've tipped for the comp. Pride 8th.
The
Dolphins 4th.
No, I'm not copping that. Who have I tipped for the comp, Lee?
Seagulls.
Yeah, Wynnum Manly.
Thing is, at the start of the year, Australia have just scored. Great goal. Sunshine Coast at the start of the year.
Yeah, very early.
And I've heard you mention the Tigers as well.
I said the Brisbane Tigers will go close.
And the Dolphins, you tip them every week. So if they win every week, they're going to win the comp, aren't they?
I've never said that they'll win the comp, and I've tipped against them in 2023.
Okay, so Pride versus Dolphins.
I think the Pride will win.
Wow. Okay, you just doing that on purpose because I was just.
No, I think the Dolphins had a good win last weekend against the Capras, but they're losing Trey Fuller this weekend. There's a lot of injuries in the NRL side, which has pulled up a lot of their stocks from the Queensland Cup. So I would not be surprised. Actually, I really do think the Pride beat the Dolphins and they get into the semis.
Seagulls against the Tigers.
This will be an absolute donkers battle. This will be a really good one. And if you look at the ladder, it's 3rd v 5th, and the Tigers are safe in the top 4. They can't be beaten there. But, look, it's going to be a tight battle. I think Wynnum Manly.
Jets have the bye, so their season's over.
And they could lose, to be honest.
They've gone through the whole year without winning a game. Ben Cross's second year. What's going on there?
Yeah, they really struggle. They really struggle with a slim to no affiliation with the Roosters. They have an affiliation. I see the Roosters logo at Ipswich, but that's about it. They really struggle with that. I have some relative inside information that I can't divulge that partnership is heating up in 2024.
Okay.
There's been some active recruiting by the Jets, armed with some pre-seasons on offer for the Roosters.
Okay.
I'm not going to go any further into positions or players, but I do know that there is opportunity for players out there, and that's going to help the Jets with recruitment. So if they do the right thing, there is a chance. There is certainly a chance.
Okay.
They come up off the bottom.
As you know, Taylor, at the end of any podcast I host, which these days is all of them, I like to talk about something absolutely unrelated to rugby league.
Yes.
I'm going to say two things. Okay. The city, Ho Chi Minh.
Yep.
What did it used to be called, and what's it most commonly known as?
Saigon.
Correct. I was there on my way back. And the other thing is, have you ever suffered bad jet lag? Bad jet lag, I can't even say it. Yeah.
No, well, I haven't been on too many international trips, Lee. I've been to Papua New Guinea and New Zealand and Bali, but that's it.
You will get a little hint of jet lag going to New Zealand because it's more about the time difference as well and the time zones you go through. So I've always found New Zealand tricky if you get a 6 a.m. flight because you have to be at the airport about 3 a.m., which means you have to get out of bed about 1:30, 2 a.m. And then what the chances of going to sleep and then waking up at that time? Very slim. So, and then you get to New Zealand after a 3-hour flight. So therefore you get there about midday and then you got to try and see yourself through the day to try and get into the sleep pattern. So that can be quite tricky. Best way of describing jet lag now is you feel like you're in a movie. Like you don't feel like you're here, and as each hour goes past, each day goes past, you feel a bit better, but it plays with your stomach and everything else. So, all right then. What about traveling in general? How do you find that tires you out? I know this ain't a hilarious topic, but you know.
Well, I've been doing a lot of driving, as you know, especially over the last couple of days. I think it doesn't necessarily tire me out, but which is ludicrous to say because I have fallen asleep at the wheel before. But I don't mind driving. I like long drives. I like car trips. I put a podcast on and I just chill out.
Yeah, I enjoy driving. I mean, obviously, losing our mate this week, you know, there's danger associated with that. So don't fall asleep at the wheel too much, mate. But I guess sometimes the car could be a great place just to unwind, not play on your phone. Not that much white noise, particularly on some of Australia's roads where I remember some of the day trips we've had. There's not that many cars on them, is there? There's a lot of dead kangaroos.
No. Yeah, dead roos, dead wallabies.
Yeah.
Dead echidnas.
Yeah.
Some good chat. Real good chat.
Perfect. All right, Taylor. Well, hopefully people could hear us on this pod.
Well, hang on. We'll stop recording. I agree with that. But are you going to go straight to bed? Or are you going to watch the end of this game with me? We could Zoom the game together.
I'm definitely going to watch it, yeah. I'll stop recording. All right,
stop recording. We'll do that.
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.